Screw it. How the NBA media stole Nikola Jokic's MVP and analysis.
What we need to know is that Nikola Jokic is almost certainly going to win MVP as long as he stays healthy.
A three-peat is sitting there for him, and the guy just keeps getting better every year. And Denver isn't first in the West.
I think it's actually undisputed that he's the best player in the world now.
He's giving you 25, 11, and 10 on 63% shooting, and he has the #1 seed in the Western Conference.
Here's Embiid, wants to take Jokic. Step back three, hit it! 47 for Joel. Embiid cracks it down. Joel Embiid has got a 50-burger.
The MVP race is over.
I have a vote. I'm voting for Joel Embiid.
He's the MVP. I mean, give him the award.
Are we looking at Jokic as a top 5 player in the game? A lot of people don't, just because he hadn't had success once we got to the postseason.
What? So I gotta have context for that clip. Was he talking about that in contrast to Embiid? Because what the hell success has Embiid had in the postseason? Let's be honest. Let's be honest, dog. What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
MVP races in the NBA have always been filled with mayhem. Compared to other pro sports,
Mayhem.
like
Shout out to
football
this dude,
and
man. He's
baseball,
still underrated.
The level of chaos
The one
that
does
arises
basketball.
from yearly NBA MVP debates is unparalleled. The 2023 race was a prime example of this. Headlined by Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic, this race was extremely close all the way to the end, with the victor being none other than the process himself.
The victor,
when the
you
news
say?
was announced on social media, Sixers fans.
Chat, you hear everything correct as white, and thank you, Chris. No, I'm not Korean. Greetings from Korea. No, I'm not Korean. That's interesting. Thank you, Chris Guyman. Yeah, you guys hear everything right? Everything's good.
Fans rejoiced. Nuggets fans screamed in agony, while Bucks fans said, "It's
That
okay,
flight?
this is just another step towards success." What was unique about this race in particular was how in the matter of just 2 weeks, the betting favorites switched from Nikola Jokic to Joel Embiid and never looked back. With this came jubilation, but also skepticism.
I hope he goes more in depth on if there was anything other than Kendrick Perkins, because I know there was like some other stuff like, oh, Kendrick Perkins did it alone.
Off the court factors that came into play. Sure, it's easy to just chalk up Embiid's MVP.
Fix my crop? I'm half off the screen? What are you talking about? I'm half off the screen? What are you talking about? I'm looking at me fully on the screen. Am I tweaking? Hello? No, I'm not. No, he not. Exactly. So what the hell are you talking about?
But how true is that? And what does the sympathy MVP even mean? The flaws of the MVP and its criticisms are nothing new. Things like voter fatigue, narratives, and recency bias are all words that are thrown around when discussing this 2023 award. Where do these terms originate from? And how have past MVP races been influenced by them? Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid are no strangers to competing against each other for the MVP award. So how did Jokic win the first 2 MVPs, while Embiid snatched the third? The fan-made rivalry between these two giants started gaining steam in the fall of 2020. Embiid was coming off of a disappointing 2019-20 campaign, while Jokic had just led his squad to the Western Conference Finals. The question of who was better between these two went from a relaxed debate between just Sixers and Nuggets fans to a heated war of words among all fans. People were getting tired of endlessly talking about Jordan versus LeBron. It was time to discuss the new kid.
Man, I won't lie, that debate has calmed down a little bit in the last few years compared to what it was. And some new NBA fans are like, what are you talking about? Still every day I hear it. No. That is a good point.
Once the 2020-21 season arrived and both Embiid and Jokic took a massive leap in their games, these fiery discourses continued to ravage NBA Twitter. If you just glanced at the voting results, Joker won the 2021 MVP in a landslide. However, if you look into the timeline, there were many moments throughout this race where Jokic looked overmatched. Midway through the 2020-21 season, the top of the MVP leaderboard featured none other than the process himself. He was having a career year, averaging 28
I'm not calling him the
and
process.
being
The process
anchor to
is the
number one
process,
seed
not him.
Sixers. On the other hand, Jokic was having a spectacular year too, finally achieving
Call
the
him Joel
recognition
Embiid.
his fan base had been desiring. However, the Nuggets were just a handful of games above 500, and didn't have the hype and excitement that Philly did. What you'll soon discover is that if you want to win the MVP, you don't just need the stats, you need the storyline. 2.5 months into the season on March 9th, 2021.
Man, wait, did he show Westbrook?
You don't just need the stats, you need the storyline.
Amen. No Thompson, man. James Harden should have won 2017 MVP. To this day, I will always say it with no due disrespect to Mr. Russell, whatever his middle name is, Westbrook. But James Harden was the better player that year, undoubtedly. He literally went to the playoffs and beat Westbrook first round. But yet it's all, and by the way, Westbrook is a player to be nostalgic about. He was fantastic. He, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's an elite player, but I will, you know, we could be fair towards every year. But yes, it should have been
2.5 months
to Westbrook or Kyrie. Honestly, that's a good question because Westbrook is far superior in terms of regular season, but Kyrie is, well, Kyrie alone might as well be on the same level, but because Kyrie alone hasn't had much playoff success either, at least post LeBron, pre LeBron. He didn't make the playoffs pre LeBron. But yeah, Westbrook hasn't had any either himself. So
into the season.
Cashy Washy 2-1. I already played 2K. You literally joined the second I stopped playing 2K. So I know I've seen you type this twice now. I literally just ended playing 2K.
Season on March 9th, 2021. Joel Embiid was the betting favorite for MVP, with LeBron James trailing him. Jokic was great, but he was seen as an afterthought compared to the top two. The common belief at this time was that it was Embiid's accolade to lose. If things had ended here, Embiid would have almost certainly taken the award with his team record in elite two-way play. Congrats, Joel. You're now on your way to a controversy-free MVP. Nothing can stop you now. Oh, man. On March 12th, 2021, Embiid suffered a brutal-looking hyperextension on a dunk attempt. This injury would sideline him for 2.5 weeks, shattering his MVP case. He ended up missing 10 games, which may not seem like much on paper, but in reality, this season was already shortened to 72 games. Joel finished with just 51 games played out of 72. Had he won the award, it would have been the second least amount of games played by any MVP ever. By the time he returned from injury on April 3rd, most fans had forgotten he was ever number one to begin with. A shiny new toy had been placed in front of them, that being Nikola Jokic. Joker had built a phenomenal case for the award while Embiid was in street clothes. After starting out 21-15, the Nuggets went on a tear, winning 26 of 36 to close out the season as the 3rd seed. What bolstered Jokic's case was how Denver performed following a heartbreaking ACL injury to Jamal Murray. When Murray went down, many proclaimed Denver's season as being dead in the water. Instead, Jokic stepped up, averaging 27, 11, and 7 in the next 18 games without him, with Denver going 13-5. What was even more impressive was the fact that Joker played all 72 games this year. Jokic had leaps.
Whoa, 72 games? Sounds like a fake season to me, man. 72? Come on, man. My NBA has 82 games. What were you guys doing to make that 72 games? Worrying about what? Psh, the world shutting down? Please. Start my season, man. Come on now.
Embiid, both who had suffered lower body injuries. In a season headlined by non-stop health and safety protocol issues and load management, Jokic was just one of a handful who suited up to hoop every night. Call it a perfect attendance award MVP all you want, but the reality is, staying healthy is one of the most
Who has ever said
valuable
this? He picked literally just Sixers fans.
assets a player can have.
I have never heard this in my life.
On June 8th, 2021, history was made, as Nikola Jokic became the lowest picked player in the draft to ever win the MVP. It was an incredible achievement, and a testament to how far Joker had come as a player. He finished the year averaging 26, 11, and 8, going 47 and 25. Voters gave 91 first-place votes to Jokic, marking for a landslide victory. For the most part, fans were in agreement that this was
No. Derrick Rose? Hey, Dylan, we need a highlighter. You know when you're in school and you're reading and what's crazy is I remember this. Sorry, the chat is throwing me off. Sorry, I don't know. This dude over here spamming. I don't know why he got a vote, honestly. Was it like a player or something? Maybe it was no, I think it's just media, right?
Marking for a
I don't know, but I remember that. But Dylan, like, you can't even like note that.
The correct choice. However, some groups of people were left irritated.
He was cooking that year. But no, not an MVP.
Voter fatigue affecting Giannis Antetokounmpo of the Bucks were thrown to the league. Voter fatigue is the theory that players who have won an MVP or two in the past are less likely to win it again because voters favor newer candidates. So do these claims hold any weight? The Greek Freak was coming off of two straight
If there's a
MVP
mod here, can you change the category to just chatting? I tried to do it like 4 times and it didn't work.
He was eyeing his 3rd straight and had quite the case. He averaged more assists per game, steals per game, blocks per game, and shot better from the field and from 3 than in his MVP season the year before. His team's record was no slouch either. The Bucks finished 3rd in the East. One would think immediately that these numbers, along with his top-notch defensive ability and win total, would make him a finalist. But no, Steph Curry finished as a finalist over him. Bucks fans absolutely believe that this was a case of voter fatigue. Well, why didn't Giannis finish as a finalist? Voter fatigue allegations aside, a key factor for why Giannis wasn't more highly regarded in this race was because of his past playoff shortcomings. Just 1 year prior, in the 2020 playoffs, the Miami Heat had shockingly upset the Bucks in round 2. Giannis played poorly for his standards, and the Bucks were the laughingstock of social media. Reminder, at this point in the 2020-21 season, Giannis had
I won't lie. The Giannis, I wouldn't say he's not. This is the thing, right? So like the whole like Giannis is not a championship player thing. Thing is Giannis isn't a typical modern era championship leader per se. Became that, but it's obviously all comes within an accumulation of a team. When you think basketball, the reason why people like Kyrie Irving or any point guard really like Kyrie Irving or who were we talking about 2 seconds ago? I was trying to think of both of those names. Russell Westbrook, I guess, you know, is a little more questionable in decision making. But I was gonna say the reason why people are like, oh yeah, we want, you know, or like the reason why they get overrated by like young kids, or whatever, because they see a million videos of these guys dribbling around all the time, and you know what I'm saying, oh snap, they could get me a bucket at any point in the game because they're dribbling the basketball, they have control of the game and everything of that nature, right? But then why is it that, you know, Kyrie Irving and Russell Westbrook are getting eliminated in the first round, second round when they're leading teams, right? I'm not saying that it's not a team sport and there's not, you know, a team needed alongside them. They could use a player like Giannis. But at the end of the day, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when it was less, more like 20 plus years ago, when it was less what it is nowadays with guard dominance and all of this flashiness, when Iverson was a foreign concept when he joined the league, and it was a lot of, you know what I'm saying, Michael Jordan was in the post, he was playing like a power forward. Centers like a Patrick Ewing, like a David Robinson, like a Hakeem Olajuwon, you pass it down to them, and you know what I'm saying, that was the real those were the highlight reels, right? Whereas like you could have Kenny Smith and who was the other point guard on that team? I mean, the other guard was like Mario Elie, just like on like the Rockets of the 90s, or Steve Kerr. And it's like, oh yeah, those teams are winning the rings. You know what I mean? So the thing is that people forgot that, oh yeah, right. And also too with LeBron, then think about this. LeBron, you compile a highlight reel of him of 30 minutes and a 5-minute Kyrie Irving highlight reel might be better, right? But LeBron is also bully ball at the end of the day. LeBron's getting you easy layups, the best around the rim finisher of the last 20 years. Like in totality, I'm not saying he's better than Shaq, or maybe he is, I don't know. So that's the thing. That's where people got confused with Giannis not being able to And even myself, admittedly, like I probably just wasn't thinking enough. But I wasn't like I was like heavy non-Giannis, but he obviously wasn't winning. It's like, damn, why is he not winning? But the thing is that, think about it like this. People were just praising, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Tim Duncan, other great power forwards. None of those guys were dribbling the basketball like a guard. KG was dribbling a little bit when he was younger. He was actually listed as a small forward, but like a guard, you know what I mean? So with the Luka rise and everything, it was like, oh, my guy's got to be able to chuck from 30 feet and dribble and tween. And, so it was like, oh, no, we can give a power forward the ball and he can get us a layup 10 times and that won't show up on a highlight reel. So, yeah. He doesn't pass the eye test. Yeah, because like I said, I mean, then again, too, and I won't lie, it's not a guy that you really want to go to down the clutch moments of a game. But I mean, hey, there's a lot of Tony Parker clutch moments as well. I mean, I know Tim Duncan was a way better post player than Giannis is, but you know what I'm saying? That was a bad example, but like it was still an example though. Like it's like at the end of the day, guards are going to end up with dominant, better shooters in the clutch moments very often. Like Joe Johnson to Josh Smith. I'm sorry.
Social media. Reminder. At this
Jeffrey,
point,
you about to get banned.
2020-21 season, Giannis had 0 rings.
Not really,
He had
though.
a
I'm sorry.
questionable postseason history filled with disappointment. Many fans saw his regular season campaign and thought, oh, that's cool. Anyway,
And this is still fair, but once again, like Kevin Garnett didn't make it to the finals until he went to the Celtics. And, that's what's Giannis was 7 years in 2020. Kevin Garnett, once he won a championship, 13 years in. Took him 13 years to win a championship. Like, and he's unanimously praised, you know what I'm saying? Oh, he's so versatile. He's so great at defense. Like, so now Giannis gets that because he won a ring, but probably maybe he should have, there's no like supreme Giannis. Maybe there is. Maybe I'm lying because I'm not going to lie. I'm an NBA niche stat fan, you know what I'm saying? History, whatever, but I don't know every single game Giannis has played. I'm not a liar. So maybe there is some bad Giannis, but like at the end of the day, like there's not like a overwhelming amount of, Giannis is terrible games prior to 20. It's just, no, he can't get past. He's supposed to be the MVP, best player in the league, and he's not getting further. So like, yeah.
Voters and NBA media members were tired of all his MVP talk and wanted to see Giannis have a signature playoff run. The Greek Freak had some narratives weighed against him, and that combined with Steph Curry's ridiculous numbers eliminated Giannis from being an MVP finalist. Some chalk this up as a concrete example of voter fatigue and slanderous narratives from the media, while others say Steph was just better. But this wouldn't be the last time a player's lack of postseason success would affect their MVP case. Either way, Nikola Jokic was the deserving winner of the 2020-21 MVP. This was easily the least controversial race of the three, but this was just the beginning of the most competitive and toxic 3-year stretch of MVP debates ever. The 2000
That's probably true. That's probably true. Honestly, I don't even have really a doubt that that's true, but I'm trying to think of anything that comes close when it comes to him. Obviously the Nash, but Nash was more like not even debate, just like, oh, just pick your poison. Because with these two, it's like so close in most statistical categories, both centers. Nash, it was like, oh yeah, point guard who led his team to a lot of wins, or like guys who played completely different positions, did completely different things for their team. These two are like exact same position, very similar in terms of like talent level. So yeah.
21-22 season saw Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid enter with vastly different noise surrounding them and their teams.
I love his jump shot.
Jokic had just gotten swept in round 2 by the Phoenix Suns. It was no fault of his own. He had quite the stellar series. The problem was that his co-star Jamal Murray was set to miss the entire upcoming season due to his ACL tear. His other star teammate, Michael Porter Jr., played the first 9 games of this season, only to be ruled out for the remainder of 21-22.
That sound effect for that is crazy.
On the other hand, Joel Embiid and the Sixers had no injuries, but they did have something just as unfortunate: drama. Joel Embiid's co-star Ben Simmons refused to play another game for the team due to personal reasons. Embiid was left all by himself as a result. Both superstars had heavy tasks on hand to put their teams on their shoulders and carry them to wins. When judging who the MVP is, it isn't as simple as just looking at the stat sheet and team record. Voters very heavily weigh the idea of a narrative, which is the storyline that goes along with winning the award. How much of a factor does the narrative play on the eventual MVP
Green.
winner, though?
Nice
and are
little
there any
addition.
examples of this affecting the race? At the end of the day, everything is subjective. But two examples that stick out are 2011 and 2017.
So earlier when I was talking about Russell Westbrook, I was going to say Derrick Rose. I'm not going to lie, I was going to say Derrick Rose. As a fan, I actually just got a new, is it in the frame? No, it's not. That's kind of sad. Matter of fact, I'm about to grab it. 1 second. It's up. It's up here. I'll leave it on the desk for now. Put it back later. I just got this, man. Look at that. No bull. Really. My calculations, he's definitely a bull. All right. Watch this again.
2011, Derrick Rose won. And in 2017, Russell Westbrook won. Back in 2011, LeBron James had just made his infamous decision to join the Miami Heat. He formed what was considered to be one of the greatest teams ever. In retrospect, they were phenomenal, but not some unstoppable beast that would win 7 titles like LeBron initially said. When the Bulls finished the 2010-11 season with a better record,
a pop out of the box if you criminal. A pop out of the box, you criminal. Dog, I have it. I take everything out of the box. I open the vinyls. I open the dog. Let's be real, dog. I'm not reselling these.
Everyone was expecting to steamroll the league. That gave D Rose a pat on the back.
Matter of fact, wait. Votes. You talking about that? There's like 7 behind me. They're right there. The Ninja Turtles, the Asset, they're like all in the frame. You could have been criticized me. Your attention to detail skills are minuscule, minute.
It was a narrative that played in his favor. He won more games than the God Squad. In 2017, Russell Westbrook had a remarkable season that saw him become the
That's
first
a great
player
pass.
to average
I mean, not really,
level
but
in
it's a
over
great
50
execution.
years. On top of this, he was single-handedly leading a depleted Thunder team to the 6th seed. Their best player, Kevin Durant, had shockingly left the summer prior, leaving Westbrook all by himself. Instead of Russ requesting a trade and leaving the Thunder to rot, he stuck with his squad and put on a show. This is also another example of a narrative that assisted Westbrook in his MVP case. His competitors, like James Harden, didn't have such a strong storyline to back up their numbers. Narratives aren't inherently bad things.
I think Instagram got rid of the, the 2017, the reason why I'm so keen on the 2017 debate is because I was there. So I think Instagram got rid of story archives, or like as far, like a certain amount, like a point, far back, whatever. I don't know if they like tracked them at first, but so that's what, April, very early 2017, that MVP debate. And I was posting on my Knicks page, ooh, why I oughta, James Harden deserves it. I don't know why they saying Westbrook needs a James. I was from the top.
On because a good storyline helped their case.
With all due respect,
it's important to highlight.
I'm still a Westbrook. That's my favorite player on 2K is Russell Westbrook. Maybe number 1.
King of the world. In the 2021-22 season, both Jokic and Embiid had strong narratives along their side that would assist their MVP case. Another factor in the MVP race that has not been discussed is the concept of recency bias. In this context, recency bias relates to fans and the media letting the players' last 10% of the season overshadow what they did in the previous 90%. If you want to win the MVP, then you have to finish the season strong. Joel Embiid found this out the hard way. In early February of 2022, he was the betting favorite to win the award. By the end of the season, he found himself at a familiar spot, 2nd place. What happened? In the 2021-22 season, Embiid made a strong case early on for the award. In December and January, he averaged 29 and 34 points per game. On top of this, Philly was winning. Their record in early January was several games above 500, as opposed to the Denver Nuggets, whose win total was less impressive. Speaking of Denver, Jokic had kept the Nuggets afloat with their 2nd and 3rd best players injured. Joker was a monster, averaging 26 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 assists.
I was watching this game live. He
was sitting on top of the MVP leaderboard, but once early February rolled around, Embiid snatched the top spot away from him. NBA media members were split on who to pick, but many leaned towards Embiid for his superior team record.
Why y'all saying mods? You alright? What's going on? Oh, dude? Yeah, sure, I can ban him. I mean, it's alright. He just said words. I mean, if you want... his name is corny, though, so yeah, I'll ban him just for that. Did they ban him? I'll play this. So.
His defense, and the fact that he was doing it with his second best player sitting out. Many believe that once Embiid took first place, it would be a permanent grasp. After all, the only thing that could...
I was Cat top 10 in what? Wait, what was it looking at? Cat top 10 in what? Oh, this? Wait, where do you see Cat?
Leaderboard. But once early February rolled around, Embiid snatched the top spot away from him.
I mean, I don't know if you realize Cat's good at basketball, man. Like, I don't know if they were in the playoffs or what, because last year they didn't. They did make it. Yeah. What are you talking about?
NBA media.
It's funny that you're saying smoking on Mini right now.
But many lean towards Embiid for his superior team record, his defense, and the fact that he was doing it with his second best player sitting out. Many believe that once Embiid took first place, it would be a permanent grasp. After all, the only thing that could stop him was an injury, right? Yet, fast forward 3 months, and Nikola Jokic was the king of the world. So what happened? How did Joel Embiid lose the award again? And what did Nikola Jokic do to capture his second straight?
Was better at basketball.
On February 4th, 2022, Joel Embiid officially overtook Nikola Jokic for the top spot on the MVP ladder. On this date, the Nuggets stood at 28-24, while the Sixers were 31-21. This was following a 5-game Sixers win streak, to go along with a 3-game Nuggets losing streak. A key moment that impacted this race was the Sixers' acquisition of James Harden on February 10th. The Sixers traded for a star in the beard. What this move did as it pertains to the MVP
I've never
race
called them in the beard. I mean, y'all know,
I
I'll be calling people by their full names every time.
Embiid. First off, getting Harden now made the Sixers season a championship or bust.
That's offensive
no
foul.
No longer were they an undermanned team missing their second best player. Now, they needed to play like a championship contender, and had zero excuse to not perform like one. This also ended a narrative that was helping Embiid's MVP case. Ben Simmons was gone. All the memories of Embiid lifting the Sixers in the 58 games without Simmons were forgotten. Had Simmons stayed on the team and continued sitting out for the remainder of the season, the NBA media would have absolutely used it to uplift Embiid's case. But now, since he had James Harden on his side, the narrative of Embiid having no help was dead. As mentioned before, the later part of the season,
how have I never seen that before?
All-Star break, he had James Harden on
the
his
clock
side.
is running down. He's doing this.
Having no help was dead. As mentioned
That's
before,
kind of funny.
The later part of the season, particularly post All-Star break, is the make it or break it stretch for the MVP. Philly went 16-8 in this period, while Denver went 15-9. This was where Jokic jumped to number 1. While on paper, one would just shrug their shoulders at these two records and say, what's the big deal? But the reality is that Denver exceeded their expectations, while Philly failed to meet theirs. Most casual fans and voters form their opinion on a player from a select few nationally televised games, and Joel Embiid either found himself losing or being outdueled in these heavily anticipated matchups. 2 games that negatively impacted Joel Embiid's case came against Brooklyn and Milwaukee in March of 2022. Embiid first played the Nets on March 10th, where he got destroyed by Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving at home. Fans across the globe tuned into this matchup, with much of the attention stemming from the return of Ben Simmons to Philly. This could have been Embiid's chance to show the world why he deserved to be the MVP, but instead, his team lost by nearly 30 points, as he shot just 5 of 17 from the floor. Against fellow MVP candidate Giannis Antetokounmpo on March 29th, Embiid was thoroughly outplayed by the Greek Freak, even having his game-winning layup attempt smacked against the backboard by Giannis. Once again, it was yet another missed opportunity.
Imagine they call a tech on him doing that. Sixers ball, game winner, plus a free throw.
42-point performance 1 month prior on February 17th. But everyone had already forgotten about that. Giannis's 40-point game on March 29th was more valuable than Embiid's 42-point game on February 17th. Call it unfair or irrational, but the reality is that voters remember the more recent over the distant past. Jokic had lower expectations than Embiid due to his injured supporting cast, which is why all of his big games weren't held under a microscope like Embiid's. But the moment that swayed the MVP discussion in Joker's favor the most was easily the result of the head-to-head duel between Jokic and Embiid. In this March 14th Battle of the Bigs, the Denver Nuggets beat the Sixers in a close fight till the end. If you compare Jokic and Embiid's stat sheets, it's fair to say that one didn't vastly outperform the other. So why did this game help Jokic while hurting Embiid? The reasoning is simple: Denver won. Wins matter in this league. It doesn't matter the context.
What a pass.
All voters see is that Jokic beat Embiid. There wasn't another game between these two to weigh. Embiid missed their first scheduled matchup in November due to being in the health and safety protocols. Following the humiliating March 10th loss to the Brooklyn Nets, Embiid was back down to number 2. In early April, following the Sixers' narrow loss to the Bucks, Embiid fell to number 3 below Giannis. The significance of head-to-head matchups must not be underestimated. Post-All
pun 3H. So Embiid, sure, by some people he's overhated, but I'm just being honest, guys. This isn't like, and I like once again, I like both players. Embiid gives me heavy Hakeem Olajuwon, you know what I'm saying, which I'm a huge fan of in hindsight because I wasn't alive. I'm a huge fan of his game, Hakeem Olajuwon. Embiid gives me heavy him vibes. Obviously not the full, like to the complete, you know what I'm saying, not as quick, whatever. It doesn't matter. He's a fantastic basketball player, right? Jokic is better. End quote. He's just better. So he's a whole new breed. He's something that you place him in. He's just better. So when it comes to like all this stuff, as long as you're saying I would take Jokic over Embiid, that's all I view it. Like I think like that's it. That's it. It's not much deeper than that. That's how I personally view it, at least. Say, Josh, you're gonna say Embiid is only better scoring, but is he? Because wasn't Jokic the same, if not more efficient? Yet still, when he needed to score, scored like hell, but he actually wasn't winning as much when he did so, even efficiently. So he passes more. I didn't say anything, but they text. I didn't say anything about flopping. I don't know if anybody said anything. I don't see anybody say. I didn't say anything about flopping. Oh, he has to flop to sit. Look, man, he's a basketball hybrid legend. 7 foot, pass the ball, shoot the ball, rebound the ball. Won a championship, finals MVP. I've been known for years. I've been saying this, man. You know what I'm saying? He's the guy. And but it's not as simple as triple double greater than 30, because 30 points per game in defense is incredible. But it's that which one brings more winning to their basketball teams? Which one is a more unstoppable force on a basketball court? It's easier to stop a man who isn't as great at, is still a, serviceable to good passer, to even great passer for his position, against the greatest passer at his position of all time. Yeah, Jokic is the best center since Shaq. It's not really a debate. Finals MVP. And that's the thing too. And this is the reason why I wasn't moved by that whole 2022 debate, is because the whole time what's it called? And I understand. No, I don't understand, because he tried to say how 2021 Jokic was missing Murray, and that's why Jokic won the MVP, is because he was missing Murray and he played fantastic and they still made the playoffs. But then 2022, I saw like the little graphic on the screen that said Embiid missing his best player. Now Jokic is still missing his 2 best players. So it's not, you know, not everything could be a storybook. It's just the truth. Dwight Howard is not better than Jeffrey. You just told me you were 16 years old, or 12 to 16. You didn't give me an exact age, somewhere in the range. Dwight Howard is not better than Jokic. Dwight Howard is not better than Jokic. Dwight Howard is a fantastic. Dwight Howard is not better than Embiid. It's just Embiid has a way more extensive offensive game than Dwight Howard, and still is a fantastic defender. Dwight might be a different level defensively, but let's be honest. It's a different era. Embiid's losing. You know,
Jokic turned up his game.
Just because, you know, accolades, we've seen how this can go. Look at the 2 players.
To another level, averaging 31 points per game, 14 rebounds, and 7 dimes. The Nuggets finished the season gracefully.
It sounded like Dwight was averaging like 30, like he was Shaq or something. Embiid is averaging 30.
To the 4th seed. Once the final MVP straw poll came out on March 29th, the race was wraps. In the NBA, the MVP straw poll is when all the voters submit who they're planning to select for the award. Jokic crushed Embiid, all but prematurely securing.
What does 1v1 mean when we're talking about basketball? I know you said that in your comment. What does that even what does that comment even hold? Because shoot, you could probably name 90% of the rest of the top 50 to 100 that's smoking Magic Johnson in a 1v1. If that's the metric we're going by, which honestly I don't even fully believe, because Magic Johnson knew he was better at passing than scoring, so he passed.
MVP.
Sound like he couldn't score. I've heard of all them USA runs where he was cooking everybody.
For an MVP candidate to finish the season strong. Recency bias reigned supreme. Following the announcement, Embiid, the runner-up, congratulated.
He was listening to Marvin's Room.
Claimed he didn't know what he had to do to win the MVP. He felt like the media hated him. Supporters of him agreed, while his adversaries laughed in his face. Nikola Jokic said few words.
And I feel like Embiid, that's the other thing, like I always feel bad when there's like basketball stuff like this, because like I always like the people as people. Like there's also like nothing really to dislike Embiid as like as a person. There's no reason for the media to dislike him. So the narrative of, oh yeah, the media dislikes him shouldn't really be created, because there's no reason to dislike him. There's no reason to dislike Embiid. Like he does that. He's a very pure basketball player. He just so happens to be losing to a better basketball player.
Accepting his trophy in his hometown Serbia. Surely this would be the end of the Jokic-Embiid MVP debates. It was already rare enough that the same 2 players duked it out for the trophy 2 years in a row. No way they'd do it again, right? Oh my god, can the scriptwriters come up with anything new? All that discussion of the past leads us to the present. The 2022-23 MVP race was the most intensely debated race of the 3. Immediately, one factor that came into play by default was voter fatigue. Only 3 players in NBA history have won 3 straight MVPs in a row. Was Jokic going to be the 4th?
He looked insane in that photo.
Players' chances lessen if they won 1.
Go back. That is not Nikola Jokic.
4th? Is the theory true that a player's chances lessen if they won 1 or 2 straight MVPs the season before? Someone who experienced voter fatigue after winning just 1 MVP was James Harden.
Honestly, this is why, like, 20 minutes in, I was even thinking about this at 5, to be honest with you, but like, you talking now about Shaq versus Jordan. This is why this NBA stuff is draining. The actual NBA stuff is draining, dog. Because, like, what are we talking about? Why does any of this stuff matter?
James Harden capped
what are we really
his
talking
remarkable
about?
2017-18 campaign with his first ever MVP award. It was long overdue.
Either the better player wins the MVP or they don't win the MVP, and then we talk about it for the next 10 years. End sentence. Like
17 MVP that went to Russell Westbrook. In October 2018, before the upcoming season, ESPN writer Zach Lowe said that a James Harden repeat of the MVP seemed weirdly improbable. Lowe wondered why Harden wasn't the favorite. and pointed out that many voters only gave Harden the 2018 MVP as some sort of a shrug. Lowe implied that the voters didn't like watching Harden play and voted for him in 2018 because they felt bad he lost out on the 2016-17 MVP.
It doesn't matter if you don't like watching him play. I don't know what he's averaging that season specifically, but he averaged 37 points per game, 36, 38 points per game in a season. It doesn't matter what you think. It's about what's happening.
Essentially, what Zach Lowe proposed here is that the voters for the MVP had ruled out James Harden for the award before the 20.
Russ averaged a triple-double, would have gone. James Harden averaged I think it was less than 2 rebounds off of a triple-double. And I believe averaged more assists than Harden, than Westbrook. That's why I always thought it was the dumbest thing in the world. Because he got the closest, aside from Westbrook, to doing the Robertson thing since Oscar Robertson. Maybe there was like a few others. I'm just being. So it's like, what are we really doing?
2018-19 season had even begun.
And then
Despite
he won
having
more
won the accolades
and smoked him in the first round, just to assure you that he was a better player.
This was extremely odd, especially considering that there were few signs that Harden's game was slowing down. Harden ended up being beaten by Giannis.
I don't think he averaged 38 in
2017 MVP, in a close battle that could have gone either way. This paragraph looks like damning evidence that voter fatigue played a role in Harden's 2019 MVP campaign. Harden experienced voter fatigue in his attempt to win 2 straight MVPs. So what about 3 straight? Fast forward to 2023. Following Embiid's
By the way,
second
one
round.
more thing. Because I see all this Russell Westbrook propaganda from years ago and everything, and I log on everything. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't, but I'm saying, you know what I'm saying, equal to everybody, right? See so much stuff about Russell Westbrook, about, you know what I'm saying, great. He is a great, you know, he's great, a great person and a great family. Like, you know, you see that stuff. Oh, you can't hit him. Well, I see a lot of, obviously, by the way, yeah. There's a lot of negative Russell Westbrook stuff this day. Past his Lakers era, which, to be fair, he was hitting the top of the backboard every other game. So it's like, not saying you deserve it, but I see why it's happening. With that being said, there's a lot of retrospective Russell Westbrook rose-tinted glasses forgetting what he did, forgetting what happened. James Harden is consistently hated on as, oh, a playoff choker, this, that, and the other. But we forget the fact that he's actually making it to the conference finals. And who is he going through to make it? Russell Westbrook. Players of that caliber. So, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, no, I'm just talking about the actual outlook of these players. Because to this day, it's James Harden can't win. James Harden can't win. But it's Russell Westbrook. Oh my God, he was such a great dunker in his prime and he can run. And like, come on, dog.
Flame out to Boston and Jokic
I just see crazy stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm here to enlighten, not really. And I just talk calmly, so it's not kind of sounds convicting. Like, you know, I could be more jokingly and like laugh after everything I say, but I'm just being honest.
This assessment? Did Jokic deserve it? And did he experience the dreaded voter fatigue?
Yeah, Harden lost by 1 game to the best team of all time and probably would have been better than the Cavs.
While Embiid opened up sluggish.
Oh no, he's choked a good few times, but I don't think 1 game should determine a player that also advanced through 2 series prior.
That catapulted Embiid.
He's choked multiple times before.
Mainstream status was his 47-point bomb.
But it's, you know, it's different. It's different strokes for different arguments, right? Because obviously then it's like, oh, Embiid, he's choking. Yes, he is in relativity to Jokic, who's now a champion. But Harden was, you know what I'm saying? Harden was doing better than Westbrook, who was a first-round exit. You know what I'm saying? Even when they got Melo and Paul George, first-round exit, consistently lost to Donovan Mitchell. I forget who they lost to the next year. Did they even play another year? Now I'm getting thrown off, but yeah.
Against Jokic in their head-to-head, Embiid destroyed him and got the W.
Hey, don't you dare do that to JR.
The cherry on top was Embiid hitting Jokic with a dagger step-back 3. It's as if Sixers fans had written the script for this game. It went perfectly for Embiid. Before this matchup, Embiid's MVP case was barely talked about. Afterwards, it was all the rage on social media. Spectators soon
It really is
realized
a
that for the
publicity
third straight
contest,
year,
dog.
they'd be subjected to non-stop bickering between these two fan bases. Shifting to off the court, sports media members that you see on TV like Stephen A.
I do
Smith,
think these two were in a
Kendrick
league ahead, but I
Perkins,
did
Skip
think Jason
Bayless
Tatum
all
had a
hold
good
immense
case for
amounts
most of the
power.
year.
Their voices
And then he
echo
kinda just
throughout the NBA community, and also
shadow
influence
realmed out of
sports
it.
writers who have MVP votes one way or the other. Sixers fans and Embiid
What
fans
do you say?
alike. Right.
Yeah, I don't know what Kendrick Perkins is talking about. I don't understand, because you eye test the game, and Embiid's hitting beautiful. I love fadeaways. I love, Carmelo Anthony, Hezzo, Melo, triple threat game, all that. But Jokic is like, what's bad about the fact that half of his points come as weird looking layups around the rim that go in all of the time?
Who have MVP votes one way or the other. Sixers fans and Embiid fans alike spend a ton of energy promoting and advertising Embiid's achievements on social media. Whether it was persistent haters posting Jokic lowlights, or Embiid's personal trainer publicly dissing Jokic on Twitter, Embiid supporters showed no mercy. In their minds, the last 2 years, more specifically 2022, were a sham. But seriously,
By the way,
how could
the
some
47 to 20 whatever and 9, no surprise. Because at the end of the day, no, Embiid is a more dominant, stronger, better at drawing fouls. That's also an attribute. I've seen a lot of propaganda regarding Austin Reeves, and that half of the reason why Austin Reeves has the contract he has now is because of that. So it's not like that's, when it comes to that, things can be looked upon negatively, but at the end of the day, wins are wins. And if that's what can help you get to a win, obviously it hasn't been helping Embiid get all the way to the win, to the number one win of the championship, but that has been helping him, be who he is, win an MVP now. And that could potentially, same as Giannis, coupled with the right assets, be a championship thing where Giannis, he's not even, Embiid and Jokic are both, I would rather them finish a game, get the ball in the clutch moments than Giannis. But it just ain't worked out that way. So, at the end of the day, it's a 1-to-1 debate because, yeah.
on social media.
Right now it's a 1-to-1 debate, but everything, it's not like broadly relative,
but once Denver started struggling in early March of 2023, the tide began turning. The Nuggets went on a 4-game losing streak, and one aspect of Joker's game that was put on blast was his defense. Suddenly, fans from all walks of the league came out of the woodwork to criticize Jokic's mediocre interior defense. His defensive lowlights were uploaded to Twitter and Reddit, and received hundreds of thousands of views. On top of this, Joel Embiid turned up his game to another level, breaking scoring records and hitting game winners like it was nothing. While Jokic was falling, Embiid was rising. Remember, the last month or two of a season post-All-Star break determines who the MVP is. A strong end to the season helped Jokic in 2022, but now, his less than stellar finish in 2023 was hurting him. A narrative was starting to form surrounding these two, it being that Joel Embiid deserved at least one MVP from this 3-year stretch, and Nikola Jokic didn't deserve to be in the esteemed 3 straight MVP group due to his lack of playoff success.
It's really
My thing is, when are we going to get tired of this debate? Hey man, talking is easy. The work those two are putting in is the hard part. The games they're winning, the 48 wins, with all due respect to the world, that's the hard part. So, so at the end of the day, people are gonna talk forever. People been talking about Jordan versus LeBron for 10 years. But what they're doing is the actual, difficult part, which is why it can be demeaning to a player like anybody.
Vote a guy who hasn't even
you worked your whole life, everything, every sign pointed to what you're doing right now, and just for people to be like, oh yeah, you're trash.
Of such a vote.
If you think this last point sounded eerily similar to what was being said about Giannis back in 2021, you'd be correct. One could argue that voter fatigue, recency bias, narratives, and of course Embiid's strong play all had to do with Jokic losing out on his third straight
The bucket?
MVP.
Ooh-wee.
Going back to media talking heads on shows like
And
First
what's
Take
crazy
or
is I was
Uninterrupted,
rooting for him to make
Jokic
it
was
too.
put
I really
at
was
number
hoping.
one. Embiid was the
I'm usually
king
rooting for everybody,
and had
though, to be
successfully
fair.
swayed the public opinion in his favor. This all happened in the matter of just 2 weeks. The icing on the cake to this madness was Kendrick Perkins coming out and implying that there was a racial bias when it came to MVP voting, essentially saying that Jokic was going to win his third straight MVP because he's white. Perkins received heavy backlash for this comment, and many point to this moment as a prime example of how toxic this whole debate has become. According
That
to
is
Nuggets
true.
head coach Michael
That is true. Like,
Malone,
dog, just get rid of the
Jokic
MVP
was
at that
turned
point.
off by the quote-unquote ugly MVP conversations. There was no opportunity for these two bigs to meet again on the floor. In their last
Jokic
scheduled
just goes
matchup
home
in
to his
late
farm.
March, Embiid sat out.
Embiid don't really create that much trouble nowadays either. Like, really
It
ever.
ended up working out in his favor. Calf injury. He was lampooned for this decision, but it ended up working out in his favor. Had he played and gotten out-dueled, it's possible that Jokic
Like, really, like, it is true. Like, just people just be making stuff way more complicated than it actually is. That's really all it is. Like, it's not really that. It's not that deep.
would have gained the momentum needed to win the award. On top of this,
Both these guys are
Embiid
living
made
lavish
comments
right
just a few
now.
days prior, sneakily dissing Jokic and critiquing the MVP process. He questioned why Jokic won the MVP in 2022 as the 6th seed.
It's a
On
business for a
paper,
reason. Well,
JoJo
it was
has
a business
point,
before
but in reality,
this degree
Denver
of
won just
arguments.
3 less games than the 4th-seeded Sixers did. Embiid also took shots at Jokic's defense, saying that the analytics that claim he's one of the best defenders don't make sense at all. Embiid here is referring to the advanced stat called Raptor, which ranked Jokic as the 4th best defender in the league. That wasn't all. Embiid also questioned why he had the most pressure to win a title, while Jokic, the 2-time MVP, hadn't won anything either. Of course, he didn't actually say Jokic's name, but it doesn't take a genius to realize who he's talking about. It's clear that JoJo was not fond of the criteria used by
JoJo, he's just coming up with
saying
things.
this though, yeah, it was like throwing gasoline onto the fire. Luckily for Embiid though, NBA fans have the memory of a goldfish, and this moment was soon forgotten. Jokic started sitting out games as the season concluded, while Embiid played and dominated. The icing on the cake was a 52-point explosion against the Celtics at home, which all but confirmed what many believed. The MVP was Embiid's, which he indeed won.
Hey, a beautiful first step. That man Grant Williams was left, almost a foot shorter, left, maybe half a foot.
A winner who stands as one of the most controversial picks
Yeah, they
for
did.
the
They
award
did send him
ever.
home.
If a fan wants to argue that Embiid's 2023 MVP
Bucket.
was assisted by voter fatigue,
Just
and
beautiful.
narratives, then that's perfectly
I do
legitimate.
hope he wins
but there's
one.
countless MVPs
I
in
hope he
NBA
wins one.
history
This
that
could
have
just end, because as of right now, it's. I mean, I think I'll always think Jokic is the better player. I think he's the better all-around player, brings more impact to a basketball game. But at the end of the day, if you know what I'm saying, the debate's gonna go on forever. But hopefully, he can at least get his fair. I don't want to be here like beating a dead horse, arguing. You know what I'm saying, something that ain't really worth arguing. Like, because it's worth arguing because of his talent, how great he is, but his success level right now, you know what I'm saying, it doesn't really.
been
Doesn't add
influenced
up.
by the same aspects. Whether it's the 2011 Derrick Rose MVP benefiting from the narrative that the Bulls won more games than the super team Heat, or James Harden in 2019.
Hey, that
who
is
ruled
solid
out
though with how good they. I mean, it weren't really that great, but they had the big three. So
It's a favorite.
hey, to be fair, not many teams back then were that great.
by many voters before the season began due to him already winning an MVP the previous year, or even Giannis in 2021 being excluded from being an MVP finalist due to voter fatigue. All of this is nothing new. Joel Embiid
Halik something. Is it fair to say that Jokic has better teammates? It is, but it isn't, because Jokic's teammates are a lot of it has to do with them being better because of him. You put Aaron Gordon next to any other center in the league, let's be honest. He's a fantastic. He's a great player. He was even having great seasons over there in Orlando, but to the degree of what Jokic brought him up to. Now, with that being said, the reason why I can really say it's not like a foregone conclusion is because, you know, when it comes to stars, like, okay, I'll be honest. I know nowadays, now he's considered, upper tier, upper echelon of like great role players and maybe even borderline stars. But Aaron Gordon is not. Let's not say he's a star, right? Not no 200 like near max contract type of guy. He's got Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., who also has had a completely shaky career with injuries and everything, has been a fantastic scorer when he can, in terms of like tough shots and everything, not really creating his own shot all the time. He doesn't need to, which is another thing. Doesn't need to create a shot. Why? The Nuggets offense, Jokic, Mike Malone, all that stuff, right? Then there's Murray. Murray's a dog, okay? Murray's a dog. He was a dog before. Value kind of stripped down a little bit because of the past few years of him being injured. Comes back a dog. Okay. The Sixers, James Harden dropped 40 twice in this playoffs. One of the greatest scorers of all time. There. Tobias Harris was good enough to earn the max contract. There. Tyrese Maxey, probably a potential max contract earner. There. During this season, at any point, if you would have asked, who would you rather, Tyrese Maxey or Jamal Murray, prior to the playoffs, you probably would have got a Tyrese Maxey answer a lot of the time. But now it's like, you know what I'm saying? So it's all subjective, depends on the time. James Harden is trash. Stop it. All right, buddy. You don't know nothing.
Benefited from voter fatigue.
We're not looking at you seriously.
Jokic. But that shouldn't be used to diminish the great regular season he had. Jokic all but bowed out from the award.
Oh yeah, I only went over the top of the top.
5 out of the last 7 games of the regular season to rest. Anyone
they did just give PJ all that money. I won't lie, their bench had some deficiencies. Lack of a backup center. Okay, well, who was the Nuggets though? Why am I drawing a blank? It wasn't DeAndre Jordan, right? They didn't have DeAndre Jordan playing backup center minutes, right? I don't think he played much. Did they just play Gordon at the backup center? Because why am I drawing a blank? So it was really Aaron Gordon, basically, because I don't think DeAndre played in the finals.
They are letting Jokic's championship and Embiid's choke rewrite regular season history. Jokic prioritized
for the Sixers. That's my thing. They had Montrez and they had that other dude that they just re-signed, right, with the clause for the second round. B-ball Paul, who's like 6'8". So to be fair, neither one of them are very proficient in backup centers. Not because of size and everything. Oh no, the Nuggets did have the better, more effective overall role players. I will say that, but. I mean, DeAnthony Melton was fantastic at a lot of points this season.
Which gave all the momentum to the process.
That's another player.
Speaking of the regular season, what so many seem to forget is
and over his time, he's had Seth Curry,
those who
obviously
voted
Maxey,
Embiid for MVP were called out after Jokic's
Jimmy,
as if this fantastic
Ben,
run should have any bearing on the voting process.
Sold.
Embiid choking in the second round doesn't make his MVP undeserving.
Why'd you type out skull emoji?
The MVP doesn't count postseason play. Jokic has a myriad of reasons for why he deserved the award.
I love that word.
But him winning a championship is not one of them. No matter which side you're on, what should be agreed upon unanimously is that the debates surrounding this topic, especially in the last 3 years, have been extremely toxic. With such a highly
recognize that. That's the Zelda music.
Only given out to one special player each year, someone will always be left feeling wronged. And with the continuing rise of social media, this bickering won't be going anywhere. It's only just arrived. In due time, if this continues, the aura and mystique surrounding the MVP award itself may start to deteriorate. Kevin Durant said the same thing himself. The MVP is being talked about too much.
The mystique of being an MVP has got it's not what it once was. It's like we talk about it too much, simply put.
Maybe it's something about these two players that gets everyone going. Well, it's a good thing they both now have what they want. Embiid has his MVP, and Jokic has his championship. It's perfectly balanced. The Embiid-Jokic drama can finally rest. Because there's no way we're getting a part 4 of this, right? Wait, you're telling me they're just entering their primes? Damn it.
Oh snap, I did not mean to click that. All right, well, that was that.